You think you know the story of Achilles, the immortal warrior, the hero of the Greeks. You're wrong. He wasn't their hero. He was their greatest enemy. His rage didn't just kill Trojans, it nearly annihilated his own people and doomed the entire Greek expedition. The ancient storytellers weren't celebrating a warrior, and they knew his ego was more dangerous than the entire Trojan army. To understand this, you must first understand what Achilles was. He was not merely a man, he was an event, a prophecy given flesh. His mother, the sea nymph Thetis, dipped him in the river Styx, rendering him all but immortal. He was a force of nature, the living embodiment of martial perfection. The Greeks did not just want him on their side, they needed him. His presence was a guarantee of victory, a divine seal on their campaign. He was, in a word, their fate, and he knew it. Imagine you are standing on that blood-soaked beach. The salt spray mixes with the stench of death. For 9 long years, the war has been a stalemate, a meat grinder of daily skirmishes and futile assaults. You look to the Greek lines, and you see the Myrmidons, Achilles' personal army. They are restless. Their master, the Lion of Phthia, sits in his tent, nursing a wound no Trojan spear could ever inflict. The chronicles will tell you the argument was over a woman, the slave girl Briseis. But it was never about her. It was about time. An ancient word that means honor, prestige, the public recognition of one's worth. When Agamemnon, the king of kings, publicly stripped Achilles of his prize, he was not just taking a captive. He was telling the greatest warrior alive that he was a subordinate, a tool, a nobody. A decision that would unleash a decade's worth of divine wrath began with the simple, searing heat of shame in a warrior's chest. And in that moment, the entire war changed. The central conflict was no longer Greek against Trojan. It was Achilles against his own commander, his own side, his own destiny. He did not simply retreat. He did not simply refuse to fight. He committed an act of cosmic treason. He walked to the shore, the edge of his mother's domain, and he prayed, not for Greek victory, not for his own glory. He prayed to his divine mother Thetis and asked her to go to Zeus, the king of the gods himself. His request? That Zeus grant the Trojan army victory, that the Greeks be slaughtered, that their ships be set ablaze. He prayed for the destruction of his own people, all so they would crawl back to him on their knees and understand exactly what they had lost. Was it a Trojan strategist who devised this plan? Was it Hector's brilliant generalship? No. The new architect of Trojan success was Achilles himself. The pact was sealed, and with it, the fate of thousands. Zeus tipped the scales of battle, and the Greek world began to burn. You can almost feel the shift. The Trojans, once cowed by the legend of Achilles, now surge from their gates like a tidal wave. They fight with a new fire, for they can see the Greek lines buckling. Great heroes of the Achaeans, Diomedes, Odysseus, the mighty Ajax, are wounded and driven back. The Trojans breach the Greek defenses. They reach the ships, the very lifeline that connects the army to their homes 1,000 miles away. Torches are thrown. The wood, dried by a decade of Trojan sun, catches fire instantly. The screams of the dying are a testament not to Trojan strength, but to the power of one man's wounded pride. And where is Achilles? He is sitting by his tent, watching the smoke rise, listening to the death cries of his friends. And he does nothing. Agamemnon, desperate, finally understands his catastrophic error. He sends an embassy to Achilles. He offers a mountain of treasures, command of armies, his own daughter's hand in marriage, and of course the return of Briseis. He offers everything a mortal man could ever desire. But Achilles is no longer a mortal man. His pride has calcified. It has become something divine in its obstinacy. He refuses. He looks at the kings and heroes pleading with him, and he tells them he would rather sail home than save them. His honor, his wounded ego, had become more valuable to him than the lives of every soldier on that beach. How could he have been so blind? The Trojan army could only kill a man's body. Achilles' ego was now devouring the very soul of the Greek expedition. This is the turning point. This is where the story shifts from a tragedy of war to a far deeper, more personal horror. For there was one person who could still reach the man inside the monster: Patroclus, his companion, his other half, the keeper of his humanity. Patroclus, seeing the utter devastation, begs Achilles to let him wear his armor and lead the Myrmidons into battle. He argues that the mere sight of Achilles' armor will terrify the Trojans and give the Greeks a chance to regroup. And here, Achilles' ego makes its final, fatal miscalculation. He agrees. He believes his legend is so powerful. His armor alone is enough to turn the tide. He adorns Patroclus, his dearest friend, in the divine panoply forged by a god, and sends him out to be a phantom, an echo of his own glory. But a symbol is not the thing itself. The Trojans rally, and Patroclus, who is only a man, is cornered by the greatest of the Trojan princes, Hector, and he falls. The news reaches Achilles like a physical blow. The armor, the symbol of his untouchable pride, is stripped from his friend's body. The illusion is shattered. The debt of pride has been paid, and the cost was a soul. The silence that followed was heavier than any mountain. What happens next is not the return of a hero, it is the unleashing of a calamity. The ego that had frozen the Greek army in place now shatters, and in its place, a grief so vast and a rage so pure erupts that it changes the very nature of reality. This is the menace, the divine wrath that opens the epic, a rage that interests the gods. When Achilles returns to the battlefield, he is no longer fighting for the Greeks. He is not fighting for glory or honor or even revenge. He is an avatar of death, a walking apocalypse. He slaughters Trojans with such inhuman fury that he clogs a river with their corpses, fighting the river god himself. The Trojan army, which had seemed so mighty just days before, now breaks and scatters before him like dust. They were an army of men, but he had become a primordial force. He finally confronts Hector, and even the gods know this is not a battle, it is an execution. He kills the noble prince of Troy, but that is not enough. His rage, born of his own catastrophic pride, demands more. He lashes Hector's body to the back of his chariot and defiles it, dragging the hero of Troy in the dirt for days, an act so horrific it offends the heavens. This is the ultimate proof. The entire Trojan army, for all its might, fought within the rules of men. They sought to defend their city, to kill their enemies, but Achilles' ego, when broken, unleashed a force that sought to break the world itself. It desecrated the sacred laws of war, of burial, of man and god. The Trojan army could threaten the Greek fleet. Achilles' rage threatened the cosmic order. In the end, it took a god's intervention, Apollo guiding an arrow to his only mortal spot, to finally stop him, because no mortal army could. They could never defeat an enemy that was not made of flesh and blood, but of a pride so vast it dwarfed the walls of Troy itself. The story of Achilles is not a celebration of the perfect warrior. It is a terrifying warning, an echo that rings down through eternity. It tells us that the greatest walls we build are not of stone, but of our own certainty. That the most dangerous enemy is not the one across the battlefield, but the one we refuse to see in ourselves. The Iliad is not the story of how the Greeks conquered Troy. It is the story of how one man's ego nearly destroyed them all, and how its shattering unleashed a monster that consumed everything in its path. It teaches us that a single broken human heart can be a more potent and terrifying weapon than 10,000 spears.